Hi, I'm Dr. Malti from Integrative Medicine. This month, I'm talking about holistic treatments in cancer care, and I'm doing this in observance of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Today, I want to talk about the relationship between glucose, insulin resistance, and cancer. Many studies have shown us that consuming large quantity of carbohydrates or refined sugar increases our risk of cancer, especially breast cancer, and in people with breast cancer it increases risk of recurrence and death. So let's look at the relationship. When we consume carbohydrates, our body digests it into smaller blocks called sugars. Glucose basically. So the carbohydrates are broken down into simpler blocks called glucose, and the glucose is absorbed and floats around in the blood. Now the real job of the glucose is to get into the cells and give energy, provide energy inside the cells. But as they're floating around in the blood vessels, they are of no use and they actually cause a lot of harm. In order for the glucose to enter the cells, we need insulin. So if we think of the cell as a house and glucose waiting outside the house, we can think of insulin as a key, and the channels through which and the protein through which the glucose enters the cell as the door. So there's glucose waiting outside. There is insulin, which is the key, and then there is a door in the cell, and the door is the protein that conducts the glucose, or lets the glucose into the cell. So when there's a lot of sugar in our bloodstream, the signal goes to the pancreas, insulin is secreted, the insulin goes, it's a key, it goes and fits into the protein, which is the lock on the door, and opens it so the glucose can enter the cell and go and do its job of providing energy for all the functions of the cell. Now, when there is excess glucose, obviously there is excess signaling for insulin. So a lot of glucose, a lot of insulin is secreted, and the key is working on the door, and at some point the door gets tired and says, hey, you know what, I'm not going to let any of you guys inside, I'm really tired and overworked. So the door closes, which means the protein that lets the glucose in is not working anymore. So there's a lot of insulin now in the system, and there's a lot of glucose floating around. Okay, and the glucose by itself goes and causes damage in the blood vessels. That's pretty much, that is one of the reasons the blood vessels are greatly affected in uncontrolled diabetes. But this insulin here that's floating around also goes and causes some changes in our liver, makes the liver give out a protein called insulin-like growth factor. Now the insulin and the insulin-like growth factor promote growth in the cells. In normal amounts, it's okay. But when they are excessive, they promote excessive growth, excessive multiplication of the cells, and they make our body susceptible to cancer. When there is a stimulus for the cells to keep growing more and more, that makes us vulnerable to cancer. So this is how high glucose, insulin resistance, and cancer are related. And this is why it's recommended to consume more complex carbohydrates than simple carbohydrates and avoid refined sugar, so we can keep the level of insulin controlled in the body, the blood sugars controlled. We can avoid this state of insulin resistance and this increased vulnerability to cancer. If you or anyone, cancer prevention is a shared journey. If you or anyone you know is looking for a holistic approach to prevention or cancer care, I'm here to help. Visit my website at www.ayur.today and book your discovery call with me.